Welcome to English Stories. Here, you'll improve your English by listening to real, clear stories, slowly told and easy to follow. Albert Einstein was born in a city called Ulm in Germany on March 14, 1879. His family was Jewish and his father worked as an engineer and salesman. As a child, Albert was quiet and thoughtful. He did not speak very well until he was about 3 years old, which made his family worry. However, Albert showed a great interest in numbers and nature from a young age. When Albert was 5, his father gave him a compass. Albert was amazed because the needle always pointed north. This simple gift made him curious about how things worked. He began to ask many questions about science and the world around him. His early curiosity was the beginning of a lifetime of learning. Albert's school life was not easy. At times, he did not get along well with his teachers. He did not like the strict rules and memorization in school. Instead, he preferred to think and understand ideas deeply. Some teachers thought he was a slow learner, but Albert loved to study on his own. He read many books about mathematics and science, which helped him improve quickly. When Albert was a teenager, his family moved to Munich. He attended a famous school there. Later, Albert decided to go to Switzerland to continue his education. In 1896, he entered the Swiss Polytechnic Institute in Zurich. This school was important because Albert met teachers and students who inspired him. He studied physics and mathematics, preparing for a future as a scientist. During his time at the Polytechnic Institute, Albert worked hard, but sometimes struggled with exams. He was more interested in learning on his own rather than following the strict school system. After graduation, he looked for jobs, but had difficulty finding work in universities. His ideas were new and different, so some people did not understand them. Despite these challenges, Albert did not give up. He worked as a teacher and later found a job at the Swiss Patent Office. This job was not in science, but it allowed him time to think about problems and develop his own theories. His patience and curiosity would soon lead to important discoveries. In this part of his life, Albert learned important lessons. He showed that curiosity and a love of learning can help overcome difficulties. Even when others did not understand him, he continued to study and explore new ideas. This early period was the foundation for Albert Einstein's great work in science. 3 important words to remember from this part are curiosity, challenges, and patience. Curiosity means wanting to learn and understand new things. Challenges are difficulties we face in life. Patience is the ability to wait and keep trying, even when things are hard. A useful sentence structure in this part is the phrase, "He did not, but he did." This structure helps show contrast between two ideas. For example, he did not like the strict rules, but he loved to learn on his own.
Albert Einstein's work at the Swiss Patent Office gave him a unique opportunity. While reviewing inventions, he had time to think deeply about physics problems. During this period, Albert developed some of his most important ideas. In 1905, known as his miracle year, he published 4 groundbreaking papers that changed the world of science. One of these papers introduced the idea of the photoelectric effect. Albert suggested that light is made of small particles called photons. This idea helped explain how light behaves and later earned him the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1921. The photoelectric effect was a new way of thinking about light and energy. Another paper explained Brownian motion, which is the movement of tiny particles in a liquid or gas. Albert showed that this motion is caused by invisible molecules moving randomly. This discovery provided strong evidence for the existence of atoms and molecules, which was still debated at the time. Albert also wrote a paper about special relativity. This theory explained how time and space work when objects move very fast, close to the speed of light. One of the most famous ideas from this theory is that time can slow down or speed up depending on how fast someone moves. This was a completely new way to understand the universe. Lastly, Albert wrote about the relationship between energy and mass, expressed in the famous equation E equals mc squared. This formula shows that energy and mass are interchangeable. This idea would later become important in many areas of physics and technology. Even though these papers were very important, Albert was not yet famous. Many scientists found his ideas difficult to understand. However, he continued to work hard and explain his theories clearly. He knew that new ideas take time to be accepted. During this time, Albert's personal life had challenges. He married Mileva Maric, a fellow student from Zurich, and they had 2 sons. The marriage was difficult, and they eventually separated. Albert later married his cousin Elsa. Despite personal problems, Albert's passion for science remained strong. Albert's story shows that success often comes with both professional and personal challenges. His ability to focus on his work and explain new ideas clearly helped him overcome doubts and criticism. This period taught him the importance of persistence and communication. 3 key vocabulary words in this part are theory, evidence, and discover. A theory is an idea or explanation that scientists test. Evidence is proof that supports an idea. To discover means to find something new. An important sentence structure to remember here is the passive voice in the present perfect tense. For example, these ideas have been accepted by many scientists. This structure shows that something happened in the past and continues to be true now.
After 1905, Albert Einstein's ideas slowly gained attention. In 1914, he accepted a position at the University of Berlin. This new role allowed him to focus entirely on his research and teaching. It was an important step in his career. Albert began working on a new, more complex theory called general relativity. General relativity is a theory about gravity. Before Albert, people thought gravity was just a force pulling objects together. Albert showed that gravity happens because massive objects, like the Earth or the Sun, bend space and time around them. This bending causes objects to move in curved paths. It was a completely new way to think about the universe. Albert worked hard on this theory for many years. In 1919, during a solar eclipse, scientists tested his predictions about how light bends near the sun. Their observations matched Albert's theory perfectly. This discovery made Albert famous worldwide. Newspapers called him a genius, and he became a public figure. Despite his fame, Albert remained humble and focused on science. He used his position to speak about important issues like peace and human rights. He was deeply worried about the rise of war and violence in Europe. Albert's life was not easy during this time. World War I had just ended, and many countries were rebuilding. Later, Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party rose to power in Germany. Albert, who was Jewish, felt threatened and decided to leave Germany in 1933. He moved to the United States and took a position at Princeton University. In America, Albert continued his work and shared his ideas with students and other scientists. He also became involved in politics, supporting the fight against fascism and racism. Even though he was far from home, Albert found a new community where he could continue his research. 3 important vocabulary words in this part are gravity, humble, and threat. Gravity is the force or effect that pulls objects toward each other. Humble means not proud or arrogant. A threat is a danger or something that can cause harm. The sentence structure to focus on here is the use of past simple and past continuous together to show actions happening at the same time. For example, Albert was working on his theory while the war was ending. This helps describe events happening in parallel.
At Princeton University, Albert Einstein found a peaceful place to continue his scientific work.
He became a professor at the Institute for Advanced Study, where he had time to think and write without pressure. Though already famous, Albert never stopped asking questions. He believed science was a lifelong journey. While in America, he focused on building a unified theory. He wanted to connect all the forces of nature, gravity, electricity, and magnetism into one single theory. This was a huge challenge, and he worked on it for the rest of his life. Although he never completed it, his efforts helped inspire future scientists to explore this idea. Albert also stayed active in world affairs. In 1939, just before World War II began, he signed a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt. The letter warned that Germany might be trying to build a powerful new weapon using energy from atoms. This letter helped start the Manhattan Project, which created the first atomic bomb. Albert was not part of the project, and later he felt sadness about the bomb's use. He said, "I made one great mistake in my life when I signed the letter to President Roosevelt." After the war, Albert spoke strongly for peace and against nuclear weapons. He supported the United Nations and wanted countries to work together instead of fighting. He believed science should help people, not hurt them. Even though his hair was wild and his clothes were simple, Albert's mind remained sharp. He answered letters from students around the world and gave interviews to explain science in a simple way. He wanted everyone to understand that imagination was just as important as knowledge. Albert also supported civil rights. He believed all people should be treated equally. In America, he spoke against racism and supported African American leaders. He used his fame to speak about justice, kindness, and understanding. 3 key vocabulary words in this part are theory, nuclear, and imagination. A theory is a group of ideas used to explain something. Nuclear means related to the energy in atoms. Imagination is the ability to think of new and creative ideas. A helpful sentence structure here is the use of modal verbs to express regret or possibility, like, "He should not have signed the letter." This structure is used to talk about past actions and their consequences. Albert's later years were filled with work, thought, and quiet reflection. Even as his health began to decline, he never stopped asking questions or searching for truth. He once said, "I have no special talents. I am only passionately curious." In the final years of his life, Albert Einstein remained a symbol of intelligence, peace, and deep curiosity. He continued to live in Princeton, where he enjoyed quiet walks, playing the violin, and meeting with friends and young scientists. Although he no longer traveled much, his ideas still traveled around the world, inspiring millions. Albert never stopped working on his scientific questions. Even though he didn't finish his unified theory, he wrote papers and shared his thoughts with others. He often said that he was more interested in understanding the mysteries of the universe than in being remembered for awards or fame. For him, asking the right question was more important than giving the right answer. He also continued to speak about world issues. He believed that peace could only come through education, cooperation, and respect. He supported global government and peaceful solutions to conflict. In letters and interviews, he encouraged young people to stay curious and to use science for the good of all people, not for destruction. Albert's health began to fail in the early 1950s. In 1955, at the age of 76, he passed away peacefully in a hospital in Princeton. Before he died, he asked that his body be cremated and his ashes scattered in a secret place. He didn't want a grave or statue. He believed that the best way to remember someone is through their ideas and actions, not through monuments. After his death, scientists and historians continued to study his work. His theories still influence modern science today. His equation, E = mc², helped lead to important discoveries in energy and technology. His ideas about space and time are used in GPS systems, satellites, and modern physics. But Albert Einstein was not only a scientist, he was also a thinker, a teacher, and a man who cared about the world. He believed in peace, kindness, and the power of learning. He showed that even one person with curiosity and courage can change the world. His story teaches us many lessons: to stay curious, to ask questions, to think for ourselves, and to use knowledge to help others. Albert's life is a powerful example of what happens when we follow our passion and never stop learning. 3 key vocabulary words in this part are inspiration, cooperation, and legacy. Inspiration means something or someone that gives you a new idea or strong feeling to act. Cooperation means working together to achieve a goal. A legacy is what someone leaves behind, ideas, actions, or impact that continues after they are gone. A sentence structure to highlight here is the first conditional. If we continue to learn, we will create a better world. This structure is used to talk about real possibilities in the future, and it is useful for hopeful or encouraging messages.
Conclusion. Vocabulary summary and discussion question. In this story about Albert Einstein, you learned many new English words and useful sentence structures. Some key vocabulary words included curiosity, the desire to learn more or know more; challenge, something difficult that needs effort to overcome; theory, an idea used to explain how something works; gravity, the force that pulls objects toward each other; imagination, the ability to think creatively and see possibilities; and legacy, something important left behind after someone is gone. You also practiced helpful sentence structures like contrasts, he did not, but he did; passive voice, the theory was accepted by many scientists; modals of regret, he should not have; and first conditional, if we continue to learn, we will. Discussion question. If you could ask Albert Einstein one question about life, science, or the future, what would it be and why? Thank you for listening.